Hi there, Perfecto De Castro here, and welcome to this episode of PDC TV's FingerTIPS. Today I'm going to talk about using diatonic triads to inject a more melodic sense into your playing. This lesson is intended for the intermediate to advanced player, so if you're not familiar or well-versed in pentatonic and diatonic scales, I suggest you brush up on it after viewing this video. Triads are the basic foundation of a chord. They are built on the root, the third, and the fifth of a diatonic scale. We have four types. We have the major triad, we have the minor triad, we have the diminished triad, and we have the augmented triad. Usually triads are presented in a block form or a chord form, meaning the notes are stacked on top of each other. Okay. And then you can take that further by learning it in the arpeggio form, or one note after the other. Okay. And then you can learn the notes in the different octaves. Once you have your triads, you can organize them in the harmonized scale. So you take a diatonic scale and build a triad on each scale degree using only the notes of that scale. So you will have a mixture of 3 major triads, 3 minor triads, and a diminished triad. So in A major, the harmonized scale is as follows. So we have A major, B minor, C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, G sharp diminished, and we go back to A major. When you do an internet search for diatonic triads on guitar, you will probably encounter the triads laid out as sweep picking arpeggio patterns, like so. Okay. And then the harmonized scale is laid out using each pattern and moving up and down along the neck. So the approach that I will focus on today is taking the basic 3-note triad and playing the harmonized scale or the diatonic triads in one position as opposed to moving laterally along the string. Working out the diatonic triads in this fashion now gives us another dimension to positional playing. So in the past, where we usually play from one note to the next along the scale or in sequences, now we have the option of playing in wide intervallic leaps within a single position. Now, when we think of wide intervals on guitar, we usually think of crazy stretches, two-hand tapping, and string skipping. So these are great techniques, and I use them a lot in my own playing as well. However, they have their own sound. Each technique has its own sound, and sometimes it's hard to break out of that sound when you're trying to apply it musically. The thing I like the best about the positional diatonic triads approach is how simple it is. So once you have the patterns down and you're used to moving the triads in a single position diatonically, it's usually easy to start incorporating it in your playing. And if you're ever stuck in a rut where your scales sound the same every time you improvise, this can shake things up and inject some melodic content into your scale runs. So another thing that you learn with this approach is that each scale degree no longer has a single role within the scale. Now, your C sharp note can be the third of an A major triad, or it can be the root of a C sharp minor triad, or it can be the fifth of an F sharp minor triad. Okay. Okay. Even though it's the same note, when presented in each different musical context, it changes the sound. So let's apply these positional diatonic triads in a musical context. So I recorded a simple loop in A. What I'll do is I'll play a regular A major diatonic scale first. Then on the second pass, I will go through the triads. And then on the third pass, I'm going to try and mix them up. As you've heard, I can switch easily between the diatonic major scale and the diatonic triads while improvising. And even though I limited my movement within these 4 frets, I was still able to get some wide interval lines in there. Now, one thing I like doing is stacking triads on top of each other. They may not necessarily be the same triad every time. For example, instead of going with an A triad in this register, then A triad again, and then A triad again. I like mixing up different triads on top of each other. So for example, I'll play an A here, then an E, and then a C sharp minor, and then maybe another E. Okay. Now together they spell out the A major ninth arpeggio, but I find it's easier and simpler to think about the little triads stacked on top of each other instead of trying to think of a big complex arpeggio. And then from here I can, depending on what I feel like doing, I can easily switch between the different triads. So let's say A, E, C sharp minor, E, D, A, C sharp minor again, B, D, E, G sharp diminished, and maybe D, to C sharp minor, to E, back to A. Okay. Of course, when I'm playing, I don't think of it that way, but while you're practicing, it's good to get a handle of exactly what you're playing so that later on you can just sort of turn your brain off and just flow. Now, another way to stack triads is to take the last note of the previous triad and play the triad using that as the root. So say A, I end on E, and then I'll play an E triad. And on B, so I'll play a B minor triad. And then I end on F sharp, then I'll play an F sharp minor triad. So when you do that, you actually get all the chord extensions in A. So you have your 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and back to the 1. So to keep things interesting within a position, you can switch between a scale and a triad whenever you feel like. So for example, I can start with the scale, triad, scale, triad, triad, scale, triad, triad, scale, triad, triad, scale, triad. So far we've been limiting ourselves to just one position. So let's try to break out of that position and expand our comfort zone. If you take a triad shape, for example A, you can repeat that triad shape on every A octave. So let's say this is A, this is my octave A, and this is my third octave A. First, second, third. So I have this shape, I can start that shape again here, I can start that shape again here. Now the neat thing about this fingering, as opposed to like a sweep arpeggio shape, is that I can treat this as a scale. So all your scale sequences can be applied to this shape. Okay. And that makes for more options as far as scale runs go. And the other neat thing is, if you feel like adding a scale tone within the triad, it's easy to do so as well. So from here, I can add So another thing I like doing expands on the stacked triads idea that I previously outlined. But this time, instead of staying in one position, we're going to move laterally. Okay. So earlier I played the stacked triads in A. So I played A triad, E major triad, B minor triad, F sharp minor triad. Okay. So to move laterally, we're going to do this. A, then E, B, F sharp. And then actually I can add another triad up top, C sharp minor. So let's take a look at that stack again. Notice that after the first note on the 6th string, the succeeding strings, the movement is done in 2-note groups. So this simplifies a lot of things, because now you're not stuck in this shape anymore, though you can certainly use them if you want to. Now, even with this approach, it's still easy to add diatonic notes to the triad shapes. Diatonic note. So let's apply the triads to a pentatonic scale. Well, we're going to build triads on each pentatonic scale degree. So let's take A minor, and we can start with A minor triad, C major triad, D minor triad, E minor triad, G major triad, A minor again, C, D minor, E minor, G, A minor. So now you have the option to switch between your usual pentatonic licks and spice it up with triads. Pentatonic, triad, pentatonic, triad. Okay, from here on in, you can experiment with applying the diatonic triads concepts and ideas in this video to your own playing. I do expect you to work out the triads in the different guitar positions along the neck, as well as working them out in different keys. Now, that task isn't as daunting as it sounds, because you will find that you will be using the same shapes, even though you've changed keys. So if you've learned a bunch of them in one key, chances are you're going to encounter them again in another key. So before I end this video, I'd like to thank the following companies for their generous support: Groove Gear, Kurt Mangan Strings, DiMarzio Pickups, and Amp Tweaker Pedals. Please check out their websites, and they got some real cool stuff going on. And I'm pretty sure they'd appreciate your support as well. And head on over to my website, perfectodecastro.com. I got a bunch of stuff on there I'm sure you'll enjoy. You can also follow me via my social media outlets, which I will be flashing on screen right now. That's it. Practice hard, and then I'll see you next time. Bye.